All right, we're back, everyone. This is the round table segment, and we call it that because somebody in the middle is awful round. And it used to be the table. Now it's the person in the middle. Anyway, welcome back, Rocco Tobin Laguerre. He was in Ohio this past weekend. No, not recruiting for the Albany Gay Pride Parade, but yet he was there to congratulate and support his first cousin, I believe, for his high school graduation?
That's correct.
All right, so welcome back.
Thank you.
How was Ohio?
Ohio was hot and a lot of work.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be so hot if you cut your hair and shaved.
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
But I will say I'm proud to report no racial profiling at the airport, even with my appearance.
All right.
Well, you look like
dark.
a Taliban.
Yeah, he's not dark.
All that, come on. Grooming goes a long way. I'm just throwing it out there. Holy jeez.
Holy
That's
Jesus.
just terrible.
All right, so we burned through a lot of condoms. That's good. Be safe, folks.
Right.
That's the
Striking
model
match.
of the show here. Be safe. So, we have 5 games to report on, folks. These are all good games. A lot of them have playoff implications, so let's get right to it. A division. You know, before we get to it, did you find out any inside information you would like to share?
I did. The 2 games you guys asked about, well, 3 games, were the Samsons-Warriors games, the Renegades-Heroes upset,
Right.
and the Aztecs-Tigers game.
All right, what do you got?
So first I'll talk about my game, the Samsons game.
Okay.
So
Can we
congratulations.
save that? Can we save
All
that
right,
one?
we can save that one. We can save
The
that
C
one.
game or the
C game.
Yeah, let's save that one for
All right.
last because that one that's gonna rivet. If you tell the story the way you told it to me off air, that's gonna rivet the audience. So save
right.
that one for last.
We'll start with the Heroes upset then. The Renegades were not missing people, and the Heroes only had 9 guys.
Wow.
Yet they still pulled up the upset. Renegades came out flat. The Heroes had wide receivers playing D-end, and I think it just completely changed the game plan, and the Heroes pulled it off. So congratulations to them, and it actually hurts us in the standings, so thanks, Renegades.
But you know what? It goes back to what we've said earlier in the season. When you have a team that's supposed to beat this other team and they show up with not a lot of numbers, there's a tendency that that team just assumes they're going to win. They're going to have their way and go through them because they're shorthanded, so
Have
to
their
speak.
way and go through them. That's interesting.
You know, you caught that, right? That sounds like something that's happened to you before. But you tend to get that complacency.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden it comes back, and I'll give you another reference you'll like, comes back to bite you in the butt.
There you go.
Ouch. All right, what's next?
For the Tigers-Aztecs game, Tigers started off strong, went up 20-0 in the first half behind Shane Bishop. The Aztecs dumped the ball off to Chad Smith and got Ace Barnhill going in the second half, and it came down to, I believe, a late field goal.
23-20 was the final score.
Okay, interesting. So that's good. So that was, I'll tell you what, though, being down 20-0 and being able to stay together as a team and come back and score 23 unanswered points. Fantastic.
Veteran leadership. That's
Yes.
what that comes back to, because we've said it earlier, Chad and those guys, they were playing when we were playing. So remember when Chad Smith, this was before your time, Chad Smith used to be referred to as Little Barry because he was so elusive. Once he got the ball in open field, they like to compare him to Barry Sanders.
Interesting.
It is. Everything I say is.
And the, the Aztecs, though, I'll tell you what, at 4-3, that game was critical.
That
was a potential playoff spot for them. So that was a big game for them to win, and they'd be one of the best teams ever not to make the playoffs if they had lost that game. Still not out of the woods yet, probably, but they are on their way.
The
And
Aztecs
finally,
did lose that game.
the Samsons game.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, the curse is broken. For the past 2 seasons, when I leave, Samsons loses. So congratulations to Wags and Samsons for pulling off the victory.
Now they just steal your
I was
stuff.
getting updates regularly and found out that we were up by 17 points with 13 minutes to go. Put away my phone, was feeling good, really confident. Look at my phone about 15, 20 minutes later to receive a text from Wags with lots of expletives, harassing me about my recruiting and the idiots that I brought on the team who are too stupid to play football, and that we were down by 4 points with 1:20 to go. From what I understand, the first 2, we got the ball back. The first 2 passes, Derek Bryden dropped. And then we moved the ball, and a game winner, 35 to 40-yard pass. Derek Bryden went up over 2 D-backs, not D-bags, but D-backs. Caught the game winner and fell in the end zone. And in my mind, Derek gets MVP with 4 touchdowns yesterday.
Because he went from hero with the 4 touchdowns to GOAT with the 2 big drops back to hero with the game-winning touchdown. So that game had a little bit of everything. It was a shootout. It was a defensive battle at times because they had to come back from 17 down to hold you guys. You're a very explosive offense, and then you guys had to come back offensively. So that game had a little bit of everything. And then my favorite part, the coach showing what kind of confidence he had in your recruiting abilities, just calling everybody out. These guys are stupid. They can't play. They can't do this. They can't do that. You know what they can do? Apparently, despite the coaching, come back and make plays. Then they steal your stuff, but that's another story altogether. Maybe they were a little upset with Mr. Wagner speaking as he did of them. Because I'm pretty sure what he put in that text, he also verbalized to
Knowing Wags, I'm sure that's the case, yes.
All right, well, hey, it was a big game, and the one thing I do want to add is I think we can all assume and accept the fact that the Warriors are a team that is for real and can do just some damage in the playoffs, right?
I completely agree. Their defense is very strong. Their linemen pull well. The quarterback is very mobile, and they are a force to be reckoned with. I personally will admit that I thought all the talk from Indoor Seas was just that talk, but they proved me wrong. They're here to stay.
Interesting, though, that they gave up more points in that game than their entire season thus far.
Yes.
So that's something to look for.
But we did say that in last week's show that these guys would have to score a lot of points. If it was a low-scoring game, they weren't going to win. They had to put points up on the board. I didn't think they'd drop 46, being that they only gave 31 up previously. But they did have to get, I was saying, high 20s. They blew that out of the water. So
no, congratulations to Sampsons and Warriors. I would not take that as a bad loss, as we have said on the show. I think that's something that if you're going to lose like that, make sure it's in the regular season and make sure that you're already solidified your playoff spot. Of course, some positioning may change here, but hopefully they win their last game, and at 7-1, you're going to get a pretty darn good seed. All right, so let's go to our 5 games that we're picking. We're starting in the A division. It's a rematch. Laney's now 5-2. They have the 2 losses, F-Bombs and the Blaze. They will be playing the Blaze 7-0. The Blaze already wrapped up the division, so really, in my mind, this game is for Laney's. Get the confidence back. Get every player that you have on your roster that's not suspended there and ready to play, and go into the playoffs strong. But I'm not going to make my choice yet. Let's shoot it over to Rocco for his pick.
Given what I've heard from Tom Wark, the team seems to be falling apart. I'm going to pick the Blaze. The Blaze have been telling me since week 1, we're the best team, we're the best defense in the A's, and we know defense wins championships. Now my question is, if Laney's loses, does that give Gabir or Valenti's Panthers a chance to kind of sneak up a position in the playoffs? I don't know, but I'm going to pick the Blaze to win it.
Okay.
Well, I hadn't heard about the team falling apart at the seams, but that would explain why they were struggling to get numbers there this week. I just assumed it was prior commitments because, they're always traveling to different tournaments and whatnot. So that was my assumption. Having said that, I was all ready to pick Laney's because this game is meaningless to the Blaze. Mm-hmm. But when you just said that they may be coming apart at the seams, I can't pick them now. I wanted to pick them just because they were going to turn this game around or turn this so-called losing streak around. They didn't want to increase it to a 2-game losing streak, but it's going to happen now. I'm going to go with the Blaze just because they seem to be falling apart.
Yeah, there seems to be some problems with Laney's. The other problem is Nick Carr is really their leader, and he's the best player on the team. So with him suspended right now, I think it puts too much pressure on the other players. Again, they're not playing as a unit, even as their own coach says. The Blaze, yeah, they have the division wrapped up, but they have something to prove too. Everybody's thinking that first game against Laney's was a fluke. Maybe not, and the Blaze winning again this Sunday would make them 2-0 in the regular season, and I'm sure they have a lot of pride and want to go 8-0 heading into the playoffs. So.
Is C.J. Tarver still playing?
He's on the Laney's team.
Okay.
He is playing. All right. Who knows what happens in this point of the season because a lot of Laney players play on the Metro Maulers. They did have their first or their second game at home this past Saturday, so it's always difficult to get up and ready for those early games. In this case, though, I don't believe that game is 9 a.m. As a matter of fact, I know it's not because we don't have a 9 a.m. game this week, so that may help them. Okay, let's go to the B division. We have Red Front 4-3, the Titans 4-3, and really, unless you guys can tell me otherwise, this will probably be one of those play-in games, possibly.
Agreed. I think that the losing team has an uphill battle to sneak into the playoffs. As you mentioned in the first segment, teams 5 through 10 are all sitting at 4-3. Right. So the fact that two of them are playing each other, the loser, it doesn't look good.
Not at all. So, with that said, who do you like?
I was high on Red Front in the beginning. They seem to have dropped some games. No. Then they picked up Billy Chanel, and they seem to be chugging along again. I'm going to pick Red Front, even though I think the Titans are the more organized team. I think talent wins out in this one. Red Front has a little bit more experience in the B format. The Titans, congratulations. Great first year in the Bs. We forced you up, but you proved that we were right. You were a great team to force up. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans win, but I'm going to say Red Front wins because of their defense.
Okay, Colin.
Red Front because of the experience. And was it Red Front, the team that you said earlier in the season, watch out for them because you like their line play?
No.
Okay.
That we corrected.
Okay. I couldn't recall if that was them or not. He's agreeing with me. He tried to say.
I thought you were going to say like because of the talent on their roster. You switched it up with line play. So
right.
No, but I still think that Red Front's going to get it with the experience. And I think Billy Chanel, if he's able to get them into the playoffs, 5-3 mark, he won't win it, but he could garner himself some MVP votes.
Interesting. Interesting.
Again,
it's very rare to have somebody that, if you don't get into the Super Bowl, it's rare. But as far as an MVP season, I have to agree with you because I believe we said Red Front started 0-2. So now they're 4-1 with Billy. So that's the reason that I'm picking them. They're the hotter of the two teams. However, the Titans are like rolling on a little bit better now than they were. They kind of got off to a decent start, had a few bumps. Now they're picking up the pace. You can see they have some good quality wins under their belt. They can play with anybody. So this game, I'll tell you what, that's one of the games that I would go see. I would go see that game more so than the Blaze and Laney's because you don't know if there's going to be any gunplay. All right, so there you have it. We have a clean sweep for Red Front. C Division Albany, great game here. You have the Avengers, and I would definitely like Rocco's opinion on this team because they snuck up out of nowhere to become 6-1 all of a sudden. They're playing Armadillos 5-2. Armadillos has Dougie McBride as their quarterback. And, you know, I refereed one of his games, but that's the game they were shorthanded, and they probably would have done some damage to Vinny's Barbershop if they had their full squad. So that Armadillo team is no joke. But before you make your pick, tell us a little bit about the Avengers, what you do know.
So the Avengers last year snuck into the playoffs with Big Baby Benson Tavares as their quarterback and Johnny Peretta as their best lineman.
Wow.
Johnny Peretta is now the starting nose tackle and probably the best lineman on the Warriors, who we just talked about, who are 6-1. Benson Tavares was not asked back to play quarterback. They went out and got a new guy who is very, very mobile. I believe his last name is Miller. His first name doesn't come to me. They also got a bunch of beef. Both lines are huge. The quarterback can run, and they are a dangerous team.
You really shouldn't hide your mouth, Colin, on the air, though. The laughter would be better for the game.
Oh, he's got beef coming, too.
A lot of beef. All right, so based on that, Rocco, still trying to regain my composure. Are you taking the Avengers?
I'm not.
Reluctantly.
You're going to go with experience.
I'm going to take with exactly what you said, the experience of Doug McBride. I think as long as they have numbers, they're a dangerous team. They've proven that already. Colin has completely fallen apart. So I'll go to Frank for his prediction, and then we'll circle back to Colin.
Sounds good. All right, so anyway, Armadillos, the experience like we just talked about, Avengers, you gave us some interesting information there. Unbelievable that you go from a bubble playoff team to 6-1 and have a change in quarterback and lose your best lineman. So congratulations to them. One question before I make my choice, though. Were the Avengers in the top 8 or bottom 8 schedule-wise?
They were in the bottom 8 schedule-wise.
Was the Armadillos top or bottom?
The Armadillos were bottom as well.
Are you a bottom?
No.
Reluctantly.
No.
All right. Are you a top?
No.
No.
No,
Okay,
you're
unisex.
either.
He's unisex. All right. So based on that, I'm assuming the Avengers is also a product of their schedule. Okay. So I have to go with the Armadillos. This is probably the crossover week, right? As far as tops and bottoms.
I'm not sure because this was
We had 8 teams in each. All right. You played 7, and then you had one crossover game, and you know about crossovers. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Dillos.
or as Ed Sargent likes to call them, the arm and dildos.
Interesting. Okay, I don't know if you can say that on the air. Colin.
I'm going to go with the experience. I'm going to take Doug McBride in this one. But I think this is going to be an explosive game. The Armadillos with 223 points lead the entire C division.
Wow.
And then the Avengers with 213, they're third in the entire C division. Oh, let me verify Schenectady. Yeah, they're third in the entire C division. Schenectady's top team has 192. So these are the 2 of the top 3 scoring teams offensively. And between 7 games, they've given up 100 points and then 109 respectively. So they're not giving up a lot of points on the flip side.
Right.
104 for the Avengers, 123 for the Armadillos. So the games they've lost, they've all been close to the vest kind of games. But I think in this case, it's going to be a close game, kind of like your game last week, 46-43. I don't think it'll be that much, but I do think it'll be 30-28, 31-28, somewhere around there. But I think in the end, the experience that Doug brings to the team will get the Armadillos the win.
All right, another clean sweep, folks, even though we have another tight game there. But product of the schedule for the Avengers, 2 high-scoring teams. Armadillos probably shouldn't have had a bad loss based on the number of players, so all those factors came into play. Dillos with the sweep. C Division Troy, this game is going to be great because it's really going to have 2 things happen. One, Lights Out at 5-2 is playing Money Team at 5-2. Money Team beat Lights Out in their first meeting and went on to become what I believe is the best team in Troy after I refereed all 4 games this past Sunday. I can tell you right now, Money Team was the most impressive of all of them. However, Lights Out has the most talent on paper of all of them. So that's really the key here. Does Lights Out come loaded, and do they come with organization? Because there seems to be some issues with the street ball that they play. I don't know if that flies each and every game, and I think when you get into the playoffs, trying to play street ball for 4 straight games against top teams is one of the reasons you don't see Lights Out in the show playing for the chip. So, I'm going Colin on you. Yeah. All right, Money Team.
Wait,
Out.
you're going Colin. What's that?
What do you mean?
You're going Colin on him.
Troy. You're from Troy.
I am.
Yeah, that's how they do.
No, it's not how they do.
All right. That's not how they do, Rocco.
Not getting into this.
All right, make your pick.
I'm going to go with Lights Out. I think Money Team is the hottest team right now in Troy, but I think Lights Out played them once. Lights Out knows how they play, knows how they have experience playing against Flip, and I think Lights Out has something to prove. And the biggest thing, like you said, they have the talent to do it.
Right.
Lights Out, to me, is one of those teams that gets lazy, but when they have an opponent that they feel is formidable, I think they usually step up their game. And I think that's when they become organized. That's when Jelly and the boys pull together. And I'm going to say Lights Out wins the game over Money Team.
Okay.
Is it because of Jelly?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a thing for Jelly.
I understood that. I heard
The
that.
food, not the player.
When
Okay.
you say Money Team's the hottest, you mean the way they look?
I mean, their play of late.
Maybe that's why he has a thing for the Jelly.
They could be. It used to be peanut butter and a dog. All right, Colin?
I'm going to... Remember Saturday when we were at the co-ed field and everybody was going nutty and you just kept laughing at me because I was singing James Brown's Big Payback song?
Right.
That's what this is right here. This is the big payback. Lights Out gets their revenge on Money Team. Earlier in the season when Lights Out had it going, Money Team knocked them off. Right now, everybody's saying Money Team's a better team, Money Team's this, Money Team's that, Money Team, Money Team, Money Team. You get tired of hearing that, especially if you think you're the better team. They just had you that day. I think this is their payback game, and they get the win.
Interesting. All right.
I like the way I tied that in.
I did like that. That was good. As Donald Trump would say, money, money, money. That's his show, and that's who I'm going with, folks. They're the hot team. They're remaining hot. And I was going to tell you guys this, and I should have. Money Team has talent almost as good as Lights Out on paper. Just slightly below, because Lights Out is all the way across the board with their talent. And there might be a weak spot here or there with Money Team. However, I think they have more organization. Flip even came out of the game this past Sunday because they were mopping that team up so much. The one that said the referees raped them. So
44-12.
the team stays on course, beats Lights Out. Lights Out will make some noise in the playoffs. Money, money, money. Team gets the victory. So one of us at least is going with that. C Division Schenectady. Okay, so this was a good one. And before I move on, I'm going to go on record here. I like these guys a lot, but I'm making a prediction. The Niners from Troy, they're going nowhere. I'm sorry. I watched them play. They have a good record, and everything's great as far as that goes. But they're not in the same class with Money Team and Lights Out on paper, talent-wise. I am sorry. They don't use Condi like some of the other teams used to use them. They need to. They didn't use him enough in my estimation, number one. And number two, even Condi says he's not being used enough. Critical mistake. Niners go nowhere. They make it to the second round and get dump trucked.
So here's my question.
I think we're going to ask
Condi
the same
said
question.
he wasn't getting used enough by the Ruck in the A's. Then he dropped down, played a season in the B's. Now he went to the C's. So if the self-proclaimed MVP of the C's the past 3 years is not getting used enough in the C's, where is he getting used enough? At
He
home?
was getting used enough. So that's the point you're forgetting. He has been in the C's. He has been MVP material because he was being used. And not like a small boy in a priesthood. I'm talking about being used where he's getting 9 to 10 catches a week. He's not doing that right now, even though he's still open, still has great hands. And then he's a force, of course, with his kicking and punting and field goals and extra points. So that, of course, they're using him. They have no choice. So that's just a prediction, guys. You can agree or disagree.
If you're 6-1,
Yes.
the other team, they're carrying their share too. They're helping you get to that 6-1. So if you're 6-1 and your point of contention is that, notice I didn't say bone of contention, is that you're not getting used enough, to your point, I agree with you. They're not going to go anywhere because you got a bunch of people, me. We're 6-1. The last thing I'm going to do is start fussing that I'm not being utilized enough.
All right. Well, you say bunch of people. It's really just one person. That's me.
Well, maybe he's the one saying it, but I'll almost guarantee you he's not the only one thinking it.
I'm not sure. That's the only scoop I got. I watched them play. They're not impressing me. They played Softex, which is not a bad team. You know, so I mean, it's not like they were playing a powder puff, and they just didn't seem like they had what he's had in the past as far as the organization and the way when he needs to make the big plays, so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens, guys. Just a prediction, and we're moving on to C Division Schenectady. Dream Team dropped that game to Thrashers this past week, and that surprised me a little bit. I thought that behind SOS, Dream Team was the second best team. But now the Thrashers make a little run there, and the Thrashers needed that badly because they were 3-3 going into that game. Now Dream Team at 5-2 is playing Pro Fire KOB 4-3, and you guys know a little bit about that team more so than I do. So Pro Fire is one of those tricky and sneaky teams to me. Either one of you want to opine?
I think you're right, but I think their 4-3 record, that's not a legit 4-3.
Right.
And I think Dream Team is going to mop them. Mop them.
Ooh, see, I was thinking the opposite, but I'd like to get your opinion, Rocco.
I'm going to agree with you, Frank. I'm going with Profire KOB. I think that Dream Team came out hot, again, using that word. They started, I believe, 4-0 before they faced SOS in the Battle of the Unbeatens. However, teams have found out that if you stop Dream Team's quarterback from running with a spy, He has trouble winning the game with his arm. Not that he's not a good quarterback, but when you're one-dimensional, it makes it a lot easier for the defense. And Profire KOB, their biggest strength is their two corners. So I think that strength will compensate Dream Team's weaknesses. Profire moves on, and Dream Team might find itself on the outside looking in after starting off 4-0.
At 5-3, you're saying they may not make the playoffs.
At 5-3, they may not make the playoffs.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to have.
But at 6-2, they will.
At 6-2, they would. This is correct.
All right, I'm not sure about that. I mean, you've looked at it a little more closely. It'd be ashamed if a 5-3 team doesn't make it, though. That means that there's a lot of good records going on right now, and this is in Schenectady we're talking about. Now, Profire KOB, the reason that I like them is I feel like they can beat anybody and they can lose to anybody. However, Dream Team, remember, last season they were not a good team, okay? So this is not like a team that had a bad season and they're perennial contenders. They might be going to where they're supposed to be right now. Maybe they were supposed to be 5-3 or 4-4 at the end of the season. My point is that they had a weaker schedule in the beginning of the season, stronger in the end, and this could be a little bit of that smoke and mirrors that Colin and I always talk about. So I will go with KOB based on that, but it's still a toss-up. I'm just forced to choose somebody. I'm choosing KOB, who obviously needs the game badly as well, because if they're 4-3, you are absolutely certain that at 4-4 they're not going to make it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we're getting low on time, but we still have a minute or so, I'm sure. Anybody want to throw in some more information or conclude some of the things we talked about?
Well, I'm going to go to the Albany division.
Okay.
You guys, you got the division. We said at the beginning of the year, if not now, when? One of the teams are still alive. It's you. Prove me right or prove me wrong.
I will say one thing. We play Fullers, and we're not sleeping on Fullers. Fullers at 4-3 is very talented. They can put up 40 any week. Again, it comes down to organization, how drunk they are, whether Ed Sedgwick shows up, whether someone from my team buys his wife drinks. I don't know.
Oh.
But it's that game, there's a lot of teams sitting with one loss in Albany. If Fullers pulls off the upset, Albany gets very complicated, but I'm going to say we win. And Colin, I think our team may not have the talent that it's always had in terms of people showing up, but this year I think we have something we haven't had before, and that's heart.
Stuff just got real when you talk about a man's
real.
wife.
Oh.
He took it there.
Oh, sure he did. Did he? Anyway, folks, there's only 2 teams left undefeated in C Division, so you're guaranteed they're 1 or 2. How's the differential look between you and SOS?
SOS is up on us by about 10 points, I believe.
That's not much. Okay, so this week is going to be a
10
real
exactly.
telltale. SOS, do you have any idea who they're playing?
They're playing the Rotterdam Raiders.
Rotterdam
Raiders have a doubleheader this week against the Thrashers and SOS. If Thrashers win and SOS wins, Thrashers are in. But if Raiders can pull up that upset and knock off SOS, Schenectady gets real messy.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, Rotterdam's going to get swept. The SOS kickoff return team is devastating. And Rotterdam Raiders, I don't know if they can throw anybody in front of that whole wall that comes running down the sideline. Very talented team, SOS. People are asking me in Troy, are they the best team? I don't think so. I don't know who the best team is yet, but I don't think SOS is the best team yet.
Well, as Bill Kent would say, don't believe me, just watch.
Right, but I am doing the Albany C, the other field, so I'll get a chance to see Sampson's this week and make my own determination going to the playoffs from there. All right, folks, thank you once again for watching our show. We appreciate your comments and concerns. Rocco will be giving out his phone number short. No, I'm kidding. You can go to allamericansportsrecreation.com, frogers@nycap.rr.com. For Colin Martin, Rocco Tobin, Laguerre back from Ohio, I'm Frank Rogers. Thank you. Stay safe. We will see everybody next week. Congratulations to the new papa.
Oh, thank you.